Hi and welcome to our second tag of our 52 tag challenge. I'm absolutely blown away with the number of people that are joining in this 2021 challenge. I'm very, very excited. So our first tag was all white, and I have to say I've got a lot of fabric envy from a lot of people that have got some amazing fabrics and lace and things like that. Absolutely stunning. So we're going on to tag number 2. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to base it on a heart. So what you're going to do is draw around your tag on a piece of paper, get yourself a heart shape so you've got a little bit of a template. The light's decided to go really, really bright. And just cut your template out just so that you've got that ready. It doesn't matter what colours you use for this challenge. This can be your own, but they do need to be contrasting. So the colour that you decide to do for the heart will need to contrast with your background. So there's no set colour. So we've got our heart shape ready that's going to go on there. So I've gathered together some of my fabrics. So I've gone with some blues. I've got this absolutely beautiful blue fabric. I think I got from Debs online. I think ended up with so much fabric everywhere. So I found that, and I love it because when you actually start sectioning out little areas, they look like drawings. They're really, really pretty. I've got the fabric that I got from Empress Mills that I use quite a bit in my book that's got a little cross on it, and it's sort of like textured. It's really nice fabric. And then I've just pulled out a few more bits. So I've got another blue, and then my contrasting colour is going to be red. Originally I'd got this one, which is, I think it's a dress or something that one of the kids had when they were little, because I quite liked that little red area. But then I found some of my French fabric, so I think I quite like the stripes on that, so that's what I think I'm probably going to use. So the first thing we need to do is make our background, and I've got a bit of lace as well, and I just got that from my friend Jane. So you're going to cut a piece of fabric out first that's going to be the background for your tag, so it's just a little bit smaller, and then we're going to make a little patchwork background. So I've cut out some little bits from my fabric, again playing around with surfaces and textures. So this little bit of fabric here, I absolutely love the edges of fabric. So it's just like the little frayed bit just on the edge, so it just adds a little bit of texture. And again, I'm going to hang it over the edge. Got my little piece of I think it's French fabric that's going to go there in the corner, and then I thought I'd have a little bit of lace over the top. I can't decide. Originally I was going to put that behind. Might still do that. Oh, I quite like that. Right, here we go again. This is where I have my plan beforehand, and then it changes. So I quite like the idea of things going over the edge of your tag, so it sort of extends it a little bit. But then you get those little bits that I really like as well. But then I really like my fluffy edge. So this is when then you have a little bit of a dilemma. So this is when you sort of like start playing around with things. So if I chop that off, pop that on there. Then if you do play around with stuff where you end up covering up little bits that you quite like, what you can then do is play around with them and then have them sort of over the top or down the side. So that possibly could go there. And then thinking about your heart, because you don't want to get all the nice bit in the middle and then end up covering everything up. So actually I might end up playing around with that little bit, possibly on the side of my heart. So this is why you need your template. I'll just zoom in a little bit. The template's really important because then you can see what you are and aren't covering up. So I've ended up covering up the majority of that, and I've lost quite a bit of everything that's going on. So sort of take things off again. Obviously the heart doesn't need to go in the middle. That's quite nice over at that side. I do like that edge, but it's giving me quite a bit of white at the front. But I do like my lace. See, sometimes it's better to get rid of some bits and pieces. But I do want this patchwork sort of feel in the background. Perhaps I'm just trying to put too much on. I think this is one of the things I really want you to start thinking about, is sort of taking a few risks. Just have a go of laying bits and pieces out and chopping them up. Right, so when you've got a few bits together, then think about your heart and the colour that that wants to be. So I've got my red fabric, so I've got my contrast. And I wouldn't, oh sorry, disappeared off the screen there. I'd never put it so that that goes down the middle. Possibly pop it to one side, and then either use a fabric marker, or might go for slightly thicker, or a pencil, and just mark around the outside. Now we're going to applique this on once we've stitched our background together. Okay, so I've got my heart. Just cut that out. Now if you wanted to, oops, got something behind that, you could have this on a piece of Bondaweb if you wanted to hold it in place. So Bondaweb's just like a mesh that you iron on the background, and then you can iron it on to the top if you want to hold it down. I don't particularly want to do that. I quite like that you sort of get a bit more of a three-dimensional feel, because you sometimes with Bondaweb it can end up making it feel just a little bit flat, but it does have its advantages because it does just hold everything in place. So there we've got my heart on the background. Now once you get that on, then you can really start playing around with whether or not that's going to work, which I'm not sure that it is. So when you start thinking, do I go back to my original or do I try it with the smaller bits? I've just got it in my head that I really wanted to use that bit of fabric. Ponderings and ponderings. You can hear my brain sort of thinking. It's because I don't think I like that bit there. But you could layer up. Quite like that, actually covering part of that up. Sort of get that layered effect. I just think there's just something about that there that I just don't like. I thought I was going to like it, but I don't. Right, let's try another heart. Let's have a look. Try and get it a bit more, rather than that darker cream. Maybe go for something a little bit lighter. Maybe even cut it. Oh, cut it on an angle, so I get red down there to my point. So don't be afraid to make a mistake or try different things. I know we all get quite precious over fabric, but I have just decided I've got enough fabric and I need to start using it up. I can't keep saving it for a rainy day. Somebody else then might use it rather than me, and I'd rather it be me that used it for something. So I know a lot of people have already said with this particular tag project they don't want to buy anything new, and I would recommend that you don't if you can help it. Even upcycling fabric from clothes that you're going to throw out or get rid of. Okay, Right, let's have a look at this one now. So I've got that one. I see I quite like that now. That red, oh yeah, because we've got a diagonal. So I've got things going straight and then I've got that playing as a little bit of a diagonal. I still like that, so I might even play around with that possibly on the top. So what you need to do then is take the heart off, because we're going to stitch the background of our tag first. So just pop some pins in place just to hold it. Again, if you prefer to use maybe an embroidery hoop first, you might want to put your piece of fabric in a hoop and draw around the tag and then do it all on your hoop first and then cut your tag shape out. I know a few people are actually doing fabric tags, which is fantastic. I've seen some fantastic ideas. It's worth following the hashtag 52 tags handmade. So if you go onto Instagram and do the search for the hashtag, you can actually follow it. What happens then is if you then click on it, you can see what everybody's doing. So if you're stuck for ideas, have a look at what somebody else has been doing. So I've got all those pinned together. So I'm using 3 different coloured threads. So I have got a cotton perlé, that's a 12. I think that one's a 12 as well. And then this one is an 8, it's a finer one. I get my threads from all over the place. So some of them I do buy as new, but some of them I do either get given or I bought them online at a vintage store or something. So I know quite a few people have asked about the threads that I use. So I use all sorts of different things within my work. Depends on the mood. So what we're going to do is just carry on with our straight stitch. What I'm intending to do is every so often there'll be a week where we just explore a stitch. So I know a few people have said that they're quite looking forward to learning some new stitches. So I thought we'd have some weeks where we just play with a stitch. So that's going to come next week. I'm going to be doing my tags a week in advance. So once I put them all together, I'm not going to put my quotes on until the following week, mainly just so that I'm staying ahead of everybody. Just because if I try and do them every single week on time, if there's a week where I can't, then at least I know I've got a little bit of leeway. I'm going to try and post them on a Friday, so then you've got the latest prompts ready for the weekend. So I'm doing this one actually. It's the first Monday in January. We've just gone back to work today. So when you actually see this one, we'll know whether or not we're actually back in a national lockdown again. I know if you're in Scotland, I think they've just announced from midnight tonight you're back in a lockdown. So I'll be finding out whether or not I'm going to be in work or not in work. So I'm going to carry on the stitching right to the very, very end. I've probably got a needle here that's probably just a little bit too thick. In fact, I've just noticed, I think it's my leather needle for some reason that I seem to have picked up. It has like a wider section at the bottom. You have to be really careful as well because it's ever so sharp. Okay, so when you get to the top end, you're just going to come back down again. So again, we're just going to play around with straight stitch backwards and forwards. So once I've done all that, I'll come back and we'll have a look at what we're going to do next. Okay, so all stitched down. So it's just lots and lots of lines of running stitch just backwards and forwards. Can't really see it on the back. And then we're ready. Oh, to start playing around with our heart. So pop it on there, and then still quite like the idea. Don't know whether or not to have my heart on at a bit of an angle so the lines run straight. No, that's not right. I'm still going to go with it with a wonky angle. And I still want to put that little bit on. Quite like it where it's sort of adding a little bit on there. So when you're ready, pop a pin. Obviously you could decorate this however you wanted to. I might end up with a button, maybe little stash of buttons. So I've got my linen buttons. I might end up with one maybe on there once it's done. Might even end up with dangling something off the bottom, maybe. So you can play around with absolutely anything, but to fasten the heart on, I was just going to do like a patch, as if you're doing like patch on your trousers or something like that. So just coming up from the heart and then out onto the background. Oops. It's decided to go all knotty on me. Oh. And vary it, so have some stitches that are a little bit closer together. Like on my background there, it's a little bit bluer, so just play around again just with your stitching. So this is when I suppose the mindfulness of slow stitching comes in. This idea of a repetitive action, and that's really what slow stitch is about. It's just that stopping for a second and just taking your time, really. Now, one of the things that you could do if you wanted to is, once you've got a section put down, you could pop a little bit of wadding or a bit of toy stuffing or something like that behind the heart to lift it up. I was originally going to do a trapunto heart, but I just think it's not big enough. Be a bit tricky. A trapunto is where you'd applique it down and you cut a little slit in the back and then stuff it from the back. We might have a go at that a little bit later on, maybe with something a little bit simpler. I do think it is a really nice technique to use, so we might look at that on another tag. Oh, we've got the cat. Here's Durrell. Hello. You're saying hello to everybody? Yeah. Just going to step across. Got cat's foot in the way. Durrell. So if you haven't watched any of my other videos, when we were in the original lockdown last year, we ended up getting two cats, Duncan and Durrell. Come on, you go down. You're going to start disrupting everything. Oh, I'm meant to go. So they're 2 years old. Definitely become part of the family and part of the furniture. They don't normally come in here, but working in my sewing room on an evening, it gets a little bit hot, so I end up having the door open. The second they see an open door, they've got to come and investigate. The problem is they just climb up on anything. No, don't go up there. You don't need to go on top of the wardrobe. So inquisitive. So it's basically going to be stitching all the way around the edge. Maybe put a button on. I might put some other embellishments on. And then we'll do exactly the same thing as we did with our other tag. So it's the tiniest little bit of glue just to hold it down, and then tiny little stab stitches all the way around, so you get your frame on the back with the date and your quote of the week. So I'll pop some photos on, and you'll be able to see what it looks like when it's finished. Have fun!